Big wit, ladies and gents! Pit the Sword Master here, and welcome to another prediction video! First it was Bowser vs. Eggman, and now this time we'll be looking at Simone the Digger versus Kyle Rayner! With me today are my two friends. Repping for Simone is my good friend Chris, and repping for Kyle is Loka. How you guys doing?
I've read more Green Lantern than I've actually watched Gurren Lagann for this. This is very one character has a very small amount of media when I know more about the other guy than the one I'm repping. Hello, everybody. Uh,
Master Chief dropping into the arena gif. Hello guys, I'm Simone. I'm here to say Gurren Lagann's way better than Kyle Gaynor.
Well,
We
we're
haven't
off
gotten
to
to
a
do a
wonderful
Master
start.
Chief versus Doomslayer review, so I had to use that here.
True.
Anyways, yeah, I really want to do this, first of all, because we all, I like to think, fucking love this matchup. And also because this is a very interesting debate and one that, just by the nature of how, you know, a lot of people in this community don't read comic books, I think it would have been interesting to actually give this debate like a proper deep dive instead of just making any assumptions. People have like done prediction videos on this matchup before. I know Nemesis did one that I had seen before, but that was 3 years ago, so doesn't hurt to have a
A lot
refresher, I
of
think.
things changed in 3 years.
I
It's
Yeah.
like
do
Gurren
think
Lagann.
that where we are now with this matchup is where the stats are going to remain, simply because we can't go higher.
Yeah.
Debatable. Debatable. See before the verdict.
I would hope that we don't go higher.
We go
I
higher, I
genuinely
think
don't
our
think you
heads are
can
going to
be.
explode.
Don't worry, guys. We're gonna find the secret manuscript that Trigger has in their secret store, and that has like what's higher than Outer Versal? What's a funny name I can give it here?
You know when people found like leaks from Game Freak about like a bunch of wackadoodle Pokemon lore? That's just what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we're gonna break into Studio Trigger.
I, I just looked at the voice chat when you said Trigger, and it's really funny that you two both have Simone profile pictures, and I'm Ryuko.
No
I'm not
bias
even. I'm
here,
not
no
even.
siree.
I'm not
It's
even
all
Kyle.
Trigger.
uh,
I like how Pit has a very normal Simone profile picture, and both me and Locust profile pictures are just done. We're just done with everything.
This is gonna encapsulate this video.
yep. Full transparency, I made a Google Doc for these two to write down notes for what they wanted to bring up in this video, and half of the ones for Kyle are just Loka officially giving up on life.
Have you seen how much he has written? He's written like 5 things. How many pages does that doc have? They're all mine.
I don't need research. I don't need docs preparing myself. I have my spiral energy.
Viral energy in this case just being autism.
True.
Anyways, enough dilly-dallying. Let's say we actually start by, just kind of talking about the characters themselves in general, and considering he's first on the fucking thumbnail, let's start with Simone. So,
Let's start with the guy that actually got his preview on time.
so who is Simone the Digger?
Simone the Digger. Gurren Lagann is a very fun show. Simone starts off in this underground village. There's nothing really going on in the village. People just live, dig tunnels so they don't get crushed by earthquakes, eat steak, go to sleep, repeat. And Simon is really good at digging the tunnels, but that's
The name.
all he has going for him. He's That's the only thing he knows how to do, and there's not much he has. He doesn't have any dreams or ambitions. He's just digging and moving his life. And then there's my glorious King Kamina, who actually believes that there is a surface world outside of the underground village, and he wants to go there. He fully believes that it's worth going to the surface,
And
and
everyone,
he trusts Simone with helping him get there, and that's their dynamic at first.
yeah, because literally nobody else in the village thinks he is onto anything. They think he's just full of shit.
Like all they know is the underground. They have no reason to believe the surface exists. So they think he's a crazed dreamer.
Yeah,
But Simone actually thinks Kamina's the coolest guy ever. And they even make a point in the first episode where Kamina's doing a cool intro, and everyone in the village is like, that guy's a fucking moron. But Simone actually believes the hype and genuinely fully believes in Kamina as a mentor figure. And that's their dynamic as it starts. And then a giant robot crashes down, breaks the fucking ceiling. And I guess the surface is a thing now.
just like
Studies.
Xenoblade Chronicles, it's that.
It's like Xenoblade Chronicles, yeah. So the start of Gurren Lagann is a very simple and traditional adventure. Two kids find out there's a surface world. They go there and they find out that humanity is being threatened by giant robots piloted by mysterious beast creatures. And they have to go and defeat them to save the world. And it starts off really nice, and it's just a simple little adventure. They make a lot of friends along the way. There's the half naked woman hanging out with them, the usual. And they have a giant robot, by the way. I almost forgot about the giant robot because obviously everyone knows by this point at this point, but episode 1, it takes a while for the robots to really show up. So like when I was blind watching, I skipped the opening because I didn't want to know anything. So I had no idea it was a mech show. And then they find the mech, and it's pretty small at first. They only have the logon, but then it keeps growing, and that keeps up for the rest of the story. They just keep finding ways to make that thing bigger.
Spoiler alert. Gurren Lagann's sense of escalation gets quite wacky by the end.
I think it's
Escalation is
hilarious. 'Cause
crazy with this show.
I don't know if you've
And then
seen.
everything.
I don't know if you've seen those videos where people are like, "Oh, I watched the first and last episode of this show." I just cannot not imagine doing that for Gurren Lagann.
That's the
I
thing
think
that-
I think you would go insane trying to understand how he got there, how he got
that's
here.
the thing that really got me when I finally sat down and watched all of Gurren Lagann was like everyone knows the show as super high scale OP, that kind of shit. It takes until maybe the last 4 episodes for like spoiler alert, any of the shit relevant to this debate to even come up.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think
Which is
Simon, on the
hilarious.
discussion on Simon as a character, I think spoilers for Gurren Lagann. I don't know why you're here if you mind spoilers for Gurren Lagann. Get out of here. Get out of here. By the way, Kamina dies.
It's in the preview.
In the
You know
if you
this.
watch the Death Battle preview, you know Kamina's
If
dead.
you
I was gonna say,
if you're not a Death Battle fan, sincerely, how did you get here?
I was gonna say, if
Yeah.
you were even remotely interested in this debate and you didn't know Kamina died that early, like
Yeah.
I'd like to live under the rock you're on.
To
Bro,
be
you're
fair, Mr.
living
Swordmaster,
more
most
under a
most
rock.
people I've seen watch this show in this wait period did not know it was that early.
You're living more under a rock than Simon did at the start of the series.
Yeah.
So true. And Kamina's death, everyone knows it by this point. Everyone knows Kamina. And before I watched the show, like the most I had seen were Kamina gifs and stuff. Like people would hype up Kamina like crazy. And I think after Kamina dies, the effect it has on Simone, like it really elevates the show for me. Let's
Mm.
talk about this seriously. Like Simone spends the first 7, 8 episodes of Gurren Lagann completely idolizing Kamina. He has no belief in himself. He has no sense of self-worth. All he does is because Kamina believes in him, so he has to keep going. He does it out of respect and idolation for his big brother Kamina. And then Kamina's gone. And that fucks him up bad.
And what Simone doesn't even realize at the time is that Kamina inversely also idolized him because Kamina's bravado was all just kind of a facade because he was scared shitless the entire time.
It's pretty subtle. Like they never outright say it that bluntly, but yeah, Kamina's just as scared of this new world with monsters killing everybody as Simone. He's just better at hiding it and believes that with Simone's help they can make it through.
What I think is
it
my
takes-
favorite example of that is they both tell Yoko the same story, right? Of when they're like the one time they were trapped under a bunch of rocks and Simon dug them out. Simon explains it as in Kamina hyping him up and getting him out. Kamina explains it as Simon being the one to keep him hyped up, which is really
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Their dynamic is fundamental for this show. Even and Kamina dying makes it such a potent story for Simon as he has to struggle with the fact that Kamina is no longer here. He doesn't have Kamina to latch onto and rely on. He has to learn how to keep going in his own way. He has to figure out how to continue moving forward to that dream of saving the world and giving everyone a chance to be free and see the lights in the sky. But he has to do it as Simone, and he has to believe in himself.
That's one thing
And
that
it
I
takes a
really
while, and it takes the help of Nia, who is Simone's girlfriend and later on wife. But he finds that footing. He finally finds that sense of I believe in myself and I know I can make it through. And it's the best scene in the show. It's the
yeah.
coolest fucking thing ever.
That's one thing I really love about Gurren Lagann is how it never ever forgets about just how important Kamina is to Simone and his character, even after a 7-year time skip in series. Hell, one of the most
Yeah.
powerful moments in the entire series, and frankly, something that'll be very relevant to the actual debate later on, still incorporates Kamina and shows just how far he's grown from someone that just didn't know how to handle grief to, well, the guy who pierces the heavens now.
The man who can create the heavens. So yeah, I think Simone's character arc kind of peaks here. Like this is like the big conclusion that the early stage of the show is leading up to. And after this point, before the 7-year time skip, it's just finishing off the war. It's Simone's now that Simone finally understands who he is and how he can fight. He leads the charge and saves the world from the Spiral King. And then 7 years pass. And now he's the leader, he's the president of planet Earth, baby. How did he
Tram.
get here?
And then the 1 millionth child is born and it all goes to shit.
So turns out, everybody, the reason why humanity was trapped living underground is because this alien species known as the anti-spiral believes that the more people are alive and can't have the ability to continue moving forward and evolving, I'll explain later why that is in the ability segment. But the sheer amount of people who can evolve will eventually bring the destruction of everything. Too many people constantly moving forward, constantly evolving and growing will eventually make it so that everything will die and there's nothing left in the universe. So, in order to stop this evolution, this anti spiral race needs to wipe out as many people as possible. And that's where the conflict of the second half of the series begins. It's this idea of this force that's like you need to be controlled and put in the ground because your evolution is
Mm.
dangerous and harmful to everything that exists.
And that also plays into like a lot of themes with Gurren Lagann about like grief and moving forward, because the anti-spiral is essentially the exact diametric opposite of Simone, where they're all about just complacency and stasis, unlike Simone who learns, hey, I shouldn't stay stuck in the past. I should keep moving forward.
Anti-spiral sees the idea of moving forward as inherently dangerous. Like it explains that its species got wiped out because of rapid evolution and it needs everyone else to not do that. It refuses to accept the possibility of any other being in the universe suffering what it suffered at any cost. And that makes it such a cool fucking antagonist for Simon and how moving forward was something that was so fundamental for his growth as a person. Like I love the latter half of Gurren Lagann, dude. It's so good. There's so much I can talk about here, but I don't want to spend too much. There's so
And
much to talk about in versus shit, but like, oh, I love Gurren Lagann. It's so good.
yeah, would highly recommend it. I think as well, just to sort of jump ahead a bit, that's also fundamentally like a big part of Simone. The end of Simone's character arc is learning as well not to play God with evolution, because
Yeah.
spoiler alert, as soon as the anti-spiral is gone, so is his wife. And when he's
There's
asked,
some weird fuckery going on over there.
yeah, and when he's asked, dude, what the fuck? Why don't you just bring her back and everyone else that died? He's like, see, I could, but what's the point? I'm not a god. I, I, I can't just disrupt the balance of the universe.
Gurren Lagann is all about moving forward and not letting your past losses completely dominate your life. So like
Yeah.
even in the context of bringing people back, you're still letting yourself be completely dictated by the past and those people who are gone now. You're unable to move on if you feel the need to bring them back no matter what. Which ironically is something that Kyle Rayner also struggled with. We'll get there.
Ooh,
Well, almost like this matchup is thematic or something.
it's
Oh,
almost
people
like
actually like this matchup for character comparisons? That's insane.
No, right?
it is really funny to me,
Yeah.
just how thematic it is.
It's actually it's that good. It's that good. But
It's
yeah,
funny too.
Simone's story I really like. It's something that means a lot to me personally, and part of why I like this matchup as much as I do. I love Simone and his story.
Yeah,
And I just fucking love this guy, dude.
I want to bring attention specifically to like my personal favorite moment of all of Gurren Lagann. During the anti-spiral war, during the climax of the show, when the anti-spiral traps everyone in what he dubs a multi-dimensional labyrinth, which essentially traps them in an infinite possible. It's essentially trapping them in an never-ending infinite universe of different possibilities where they're not fighting him.
Didn't
And
know
that's kind
that.
of the moment that completely highlights just how special Simone and Kamina's relationship is because, spoilers, Kamina comes back as a spirit and essentially tells Simone, hey, so about that whole moving forward thing. And you just get this, like, really heartwarming exchange where Kamina reminds Simone what he's here to do, and they just get to reconnect after so long. Like, it's such a simple
I
line,
think on the
but
subject of Kamino, on the subject, I like that scene. Like, not only is the stuff with Simone himself, like, genuinely some of the best content in the show, I like how Kamina is also directly involved in everyone else in the squad getting out. Like, we see him helping
mm,
Yoko, and I like, it's like Kamina's influence is so present in everyone. He changed everyone's lives. He was such a massive factor in this story, and I like how even in the very last possible moment, they go out of their way to highlight just how special Kamino was, how important he was to all of them.
this is one of the things that, like, I think makes Gurren Lagann so special as like a series that's very notorious for just how overpowered or high scale it is because I don't feel like a lot of or if any of the stuff that makes it so strong in versus has zero place in the show. It all just adds up to the story. Like yeah, multi-dimensional labyrinth, crazy versus implications, but I think the story would be genuinely worse off without it because it wraps
Yeah,
such a nice bow on like Simon and Kamina's arcs.
yeah. God, it's so much going on in 27 episodes, man,
And two movies, even if like
and two
half an
movies,
hour of them are actually original.
and the 10 minutes of actually good content in the movies.
If there's nothing else we want to talk about for Simon, then Kyle Rayner?
I think I talked about everything I felt like needed to be said. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Kyle Rayner, and I've been looking forward for this. I like Kyle Rayner. I like Kyle a lot too.
Yeah.
All right, so unlike Gurren Lagann, which we here have all seen, and you have probably seen, I'm assuming, because everyone in the community has started watching apparently, which is super cool.
Mm.
Not a lot of people have read the majority of Kyle Rayner's comic appearances, which fucking fair, right?
Yeah, just to
People don't like
Yeah.
reading.
yeah, just to say one thing on Kyle real quick. Kyle has like the unfortunate distinction of being one of the characters on Deathbell with like the least amount of in motion appearances. Like the most he gets outside of a couple mentions or cameos is an episode of the animated Superman show and Scribble Knots Unlimited. As far as I've heard it put, it's like Green Lantern, just in general, has kind of been a little as far as adaptations go. And whenever they do adapt it, it's like, well, I go for Kyle over safer picks like Hal, John, Guy, which is very unfortunate.
It is
Like, if
unfortunate because Kyle's comic origin kind of relies on him being not the first Green Lantern. So you need to one, make a Green Lantern adaptation, which not a lot of people like doing because of a certain something that exists. And two, have that go on for long enough that you can justify Kyle Rayner appearing.
Yeah, because
This has
spoiler
never
alert.
happened.
Yeah, because spoiler alert.
Yeah.
A lot of Kyle's story relates to like Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a shame because I love Kyle. He's great.
Yeah,
I wish it was possible to just have him as the Green Lantern in more Justice League movies, because I've been reading a lot of his appearances in LJA and the Way period, and like he's so fun. I love the dynamic between him and Wally and just the rest of the gang. Like he's
Mm.
just a good fit for the Justice League. I love this
yeah.
guy.
One of my favorite things
Uh,
about the Green Lantern Corps, just as like a subsection of the DC universes, I love the way that their power sets reflect their personalities, because a lot of them have like their preferences for what kind of constructs they use. And given that Kyle is an artist, that lends to him being like one of the most creative with his constructs. And also one of the geekiest, considering, he makes the fucking Ava units, or who would have guessed? The Gurren.
He's
yeah,
based, is what you're saying.
Kyle is great, and I think that his story is really underrated, which is
Let's hear
why I have 2 pages written down about
it.
it. So essentially, Kyle Rayner was introduced in the Green Lantern storyline Emerald Twilight, which followed the death of Superman. Kind of changed a lot of things. It was very early post Crisis, so they really wanted to experiment with DC universe now that they had this blank slate to do it with. Basically, what happens is that Hal Jordan was a little cuckoo. uh, his city, Coast City, gets completely wiped out by Mongol and Cyborg Superman because they want to remake War World. That's a whole other can of worms. Hal doesn't take that very well. Everyone he loves is fucking dead.
Mm.
So he decides to, with the infinite possibilities of the Green Lantern, just to recreate everything, all the buildings, all the people, all his family. Now, the Guardians of the Universe, who are the guys who make the Lantern rings and kind of keep them under check, have a strict rule that you cannot use the ring for selfish desires. But Hal is so overcome with grief that, you know, kind of disregards that. And that is a perfect influence for Parallax, the evil yellow thing.
The
You
yellow
know,
impurity.
You know
the
that
one.
Sinestro guy? Yeah, that's where his power comes from.
Yeah, that thingy.
Ever seen
So he
this
kind of
big ass yellow bug we're gonna show on screen right now? It's that guy.
put like arrows pointing towards it.
Will
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, so he kind of possessed Hal and killed everyone. Like he killed Kilowog, he killed Sinestro, he killed the Guardians, except for one. Ganthet, my goat,
Glorious
is
king.
great. Survived. I have in parentheses the goat written, and flew away looking for anyone who could help. And on the day that Hal Jordan started his attack, Kyle Rayner, a nobody, struggling freelance graphic artist, like who he's not important, saw Hal flying and mistook it for a star and wished that he would escape all of his troubles. The day after, Ganthet comes to him with a Green Lantern ring and a whole lot of trouble.
Womp
He
womp.
was basically just chosen because he was available. Ganthet does explain later that he has a great ability to overcome fear. Funnily enough, he tried to recruit Guy Gardner before going to Kyle, but Guy said no.
Who would have thought?
That's my goat. Watch him in the. I hope he's cool in the Superman movie.
So Kyle didn't know what to do because he was just thrust into something that he had no way to prepare for. The
Doesn't that
only
sound
guidance
familiar?
he had was for, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that. The only guidance he had was from his girlfriend Alex, which just wait.
We'll get there.
And she kind of pushed him into being a superhero. It's very underrated love interest, but she's really cool. She helped him design his outfit. She helped him defeat his first villain. But unfortunately, Kyle becoming the Green Lantern kind of made a lot of supervillains aware and started wondering, hey, what's up with this new Green Lantern? That's going to be a problem, right? So the supervillain Major Force, yes, that's its name, kind of tracked him down and found his girlfriend and killed her and stuffed her in a fridge.
Editor, put 50 fridges on screen for a half frame.
Yeah, so fun fact, if you've ever heard the term fridging, that's where that comes from. There's your biggest contribution to society that Kyle has made. Be very sad.
Insane. Imagine being mostly remembered because of your girlfriend getting fucking murdered.
Poor guy.
Obviously,
Man,
this was
he can't catch a
disastrous.
break.
Yeah,
This was
sorry, continue.
disastrous for Kyle. Obviously. It's kind of
Yeah.
what pushed him into becoming a real hero. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Which would further push him towards that fateful encounter with Hal. Especially because he got help from Alan Scott. And I don't know why he was there. First Green Lantern. He's pretty cool.
Alan Scott is just kind of awesome like that.
And
He's chill.
eventually, Kyle defeated Hal and Parallax.
Roll
Which-
credits.
Sounds like it would be a great end to a story, right?
If this
We're
was not a
happy to.
comic book, then probably.
This is a comic book run. A lot of shit happened. He achieved godhood with Ion Shark. Put a picture of Ion on the screen.
Yeah, he's
Put a
basically
picture of
he's just the Green Lantern's Parallax.
editor.
Yeah,
Editor,
and-
can you add a PNG of a shark and then paint it green on screen instead
Yeah,
of an actual picture on it?
And Ion, with that, he was able to rebuild the Green Lantern Corps and bring all the Guardians back. For a while, he had fun with Power Girl, the Atom, Firestorm, and Adam Strange in the Circle of Fire, which is a really funny lineup of characters.
And also just the goated comic run in general.
It was also Blue Lantern for a while.
That's a whole other
Anyways,
thing.
eventually DC grew tired of all that, so Flashpoint happened. And
As you do.
this is where it gets. Oh boy. Most things about, if you don't know what Flashpoint is, another retcon.
Universal
Basically-
retcon.
Yeah, Kyle's background was mostly the same, except for one day when he was out on his normal lantern duties. A lot of power rings showed up from the other Lantern Corps, and they all really wanted to be with him. He was confused, as one would be. The Guardians were confused, as they would be, because they didn't allow that. And it took a long time for him to try to figure out what was going on. But eventually, once he did, he mastered the emotional spectrum and became the White Lantern, with the full
goat.
combined power of all Lantern rings.
This is the reason people talk about Kyle Rayner in any context now.
This is, yeah,
Yeah.
It's cool as fuck.
it's really fucking cool. There's a lot of stuff in the White Lantern runs, but I'll try to keep it concise to the important things. So the Source Wall.
And
Oh my god, immediately? We're just
I
jumping
wanna-
straight into lights out, okay.
just dropping it like
I
an
wanna-
atomic bomb.
I want to go to this particular because I think this is my favorite thing that happened. Is his
Fire away.
showdown with this guy called Relic. He's kind of a loser, but Relic is this guy who watched his universe get destroyed and blames the emotional spectrum. And so he believes that further usage of the emotional spectrum would cause the universe to get destroyed. Wink,
Does that
wink,
sound
nudge,
familiar?
nudge.
Specifically, his motivation is that the energy of the emotional spectrum is so fundamental for the existence of the universe that every time light bearer, as they call them in his universe, every time someone used that energy, it would lower the amount of energy in the entire universe. And when that ran out, Oh boy, everything's gone. Everyone's fucking dead. And then he wakes up in another universe and there's all these lanterns doing the exact same thing. Bro was angry. Bro was not
Yeah.
happy.
Does this
It
sound familiar?
was a rough day for Raleigh, which didn't go bad for him when Kyle locked his ass in the source wall. But Kyle also got something else from the source wall, which I don't want to talk about it now. It's the life equation. I promise it's plot relevant too. Essentially, Kyle's hammering with the source and the source wall gave birth to an entity called Oblivion. All of his dark anxiety, fear, and anger manifested into one entity. And it took a lot from him. The fight with Oblivion, Kyle realized because he was struggling so much with the White Lantern power and with Oblivion, trying to figure out what he's supposed to do with all this incredible power, before realizing that he can't just have that. So he split it into 7 parts and formed the White Lantern Corps, which DC has never used again. And then he beat Oblivion with his friends to preserve life in the whole universe.
What a
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I think Kyle's story, something that I've noticed in all of my research and all of the reading I did, like the most consistent aspect of Kyle by far, and it happens to him so often, I feel kind of bad for the guy, is that he keeps being handed power that is way beyond what he can even understand comprehend, right? Like he's all like first the Green Lantern ring, then Ion, then the White Lantern ring, then the life equation. He's constantly forced into these positions where he has so much power. He's so important to the cosmos. And he has no idea what to do. He's so lost and scared that he's gonna mess up and ruin everything. And it's just,
Yeah.
I just really like this guy.
That's why I
Yeah.
love the showdown with Oblivion, where he finally takes that into his own hand. And it's like, you know what? No, I can't have this. So I'm gonna split this and give it and share it with people. Because you know the whole thing with superheroes is that you're stronger together.
No one person needs to carry these. No one person needs to carry such ridiculous burdens. And that's why the decision to split the life equation is such a good character moment for Kyle. He understands that, yeah, I can't do this on my own. I don't have to do this on my own. And it's just I really
Which
like
is why I wish that they ever showed up again.
me too, buddy. Me
Where are
too.
the White Lantern Corps?
Gone. Forgot
Where
it.
are they? That was
DC
such
for
a
gore.
good lead into his own being like the leader of them. They're just gone.
We're never gonna see him again. It's been how many
This,
years has it even been since that issue, dude?
I
Oh
think
my
that was
god.
2017.
Jesus Christ.
It's 8 years ago.
Read New
Oh
Guardians
my
is really
days.
good.
New Guardians is really fun.
New Guardians is great.
I wish there weren't so many tie-ins though. It makes it a little annoying. But that's comic books,
Unfortunate.
baby.
That's
That's
comics. This
comic
is why
books.
people don't read comics. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Kyle Rayner is just a really cool guy
He's
because he's
really
just because
cool.
in the bottom of it, he is just a guy who doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing, but he figures it out through the help of
Yeah.
his girlfriend, through the help of the absolute goat Saint Walker, through Gambit, and in the end through the White Lantern Corps. And then
What a
the
guy.
storyline kept going, but you know it's DC.
Yeah.
There's more stuff that happens later, but it's not that relevant,
I,
so we don't
I
talk
think
about
he's
it.
back to being a Green Lantern now, which thanks.
Like apparently he can just he transformed into White Lantern in the middle of a fight. Weird. I don't know
Well,
what I don't know what they're doing.
there's your death battle progression.
All right. Anything else you want to add for Kyle before we move on then?
No. I
No.
think I've made my choice. I think I've made my the points I wanted to bring up.
Right. Grand. I think we agreed then, after just kind of talking about the characters, that we want to go over their abilities and resistances, all that kind of stuff next.
Well,
Let's
before
talk
that,
about
before that,
power scheme.
So go
before
ahead.
that, I want to talk about the matchup
Yeah,
All
go
right,
ahead.
true.
because if you somehow weren't paying attention, there's a lot going on here. Very similar character
Yeah.
modes, which makes it so funny to me the way this matchup was conceived back in like 2020, 2021, whatever. People really wanted DC to get an L from a known Marvel series. So they were like, okay, Simon the Digger, he's strong. Who can we put him against? Supposedly, White Lantern Kyle Rayner was a comparison somewhere. And they're like, okay, we can have him die to Simon. And then that was over for a week, and people realized, oh my goodness, this is actually really good.
Yeah. I think the comparison between Simone and Kyle is like really old. Like apparently there's like fan art of Simone dressed up as specifically Kyle's outfit that dates before the White Lantern was even a thing. Yeah, people have always been. It's not been a super big comparison, but like people who know both characters have always been making this comparison, which
And
makes
again,
it so much funnier that people try to popularize it because I hate DC Comics.
yeah,
Grr.
again, Kyle literally references Gurren Lagann in the comics. He makes a Gurren construct.
Yeah. Like
But
it's just a very strong character in comparison. There's a lot of fun potential you can do. We'll get to abilities and why that is later, but like, it's a great matchup.
Yeah.
Definitely my top 5 favorite of all time.
it's climbed up there for me too. I think
Yeah.
after this wait period.
Yeah, these are
I
just two
I,
love.
amazing characters, and I'm glad that this wait period has like led to a lot of people gaining a better appreciation for them.
I am happy people are actually. I've actually seen people start reading Kyle comics this way period.
Dude, I was so scared
No,
that this
oh,
was
that
just gonna
never
be
happens.
the I was so scared this was just gonna be the Chad Simon versus the Virgin Kyle wait period, so I'm glad that didn't
But
pan
it's
out.
the
yeah,
Chad Simon versus the Chad Kyle.
that was the one reason I was worried
Yeah.
about this matchup happening. Obviously, I'm repping Kyle. I do prefer him. I love Simon though. Don't misquote me on
Mm.
that. But literally, the first thing I saw looking at Discord was people reading Kyle comics together,
Yeah,
and
same.
that warmed my little stone heart.
God bless you,
Yeah.
Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. You're so
Thanks.
cool.
Anyways, we're 43 minutes in. Now we can talk about the actual match itself.
We spent so long just having fun and talking about characters. Now let's get to power scale.
Yeah,
Let's
so
not have fun anymore.
let's just start with the simpler of what we're covering, the abilities and resistances, starting with Simone. So Simone, I think, is
All right.
really funny because, like I mentioned earlier, most of what's like actually going to be relevant to this debate is only at like the very end of Gurren Lagann, because up and like the just base Gurren Lagann itself is stupid simple by comparison.
It is a robot with drills.
All right. Let's get this started. All right. So Simon the Digger, his superpower, like we mentioned previously, the power of evolution is the power of the spiral. They call it spiral energy. The power of the spiral, not bad at all. Uh, it's the power to constantly grow and evolve. As Lord Genome has like a long ass explanation. I don't have notes for this. It's just the power to keep evolving and overcoming any limits that come your way. And this manifests as a lot of bullshit,
Yeah,
basically. First of all, he uses it as the power source for his mech, the Lagan, the small one, the little head guy. It's
yeah,
directly tied to Simon's emotions and willpower, which is basically what spiral energy is. It's your willpower manifested into pure energy that can do pretty much anything.
Wink, wink,
It
nudge, nudge.
sounds
yeah.
familiar, huh?
The interesting thing about the Logon is that it essentially plugs into other mechs via the drill and controls them through spiral energy. And kind of the interesting thing is that throughout the series, it's kind of shown that it can just assimilate other mechs through this. Not just the Gurren itself, but it even uses that to nab a pair of wings from another mech and attach it to the Gurren Lagann. And there's nothing really to
Yeah, the
suggest
Logans
that
big
that
thing is assimilation. If imagine if he took over the ring though, that'd be so funny.
but no, I think it's specifically stated that it's
Yeah.
robots or mechs, so unfortunately the ring's a no-go.
Damn.
But
Unfortunate.
we'll get there when we get there.
So yeah, the Lagan basically it just turns it parts of its body into drills and assimilates technology into itself. Very simple. It's just a tiny little guy. And then it fuses with the Gurren and becomes the Gurren Lagann. And holy shit, there's so many drills in this thing.
Yeah, so
It's
it can
all
do
drills.
it's all drills and also the Daigon Boomerang, which is literally just grabbing the pair of shades on its chest and yeeting it at someone to snare
Yeah.
them.
Like nice boomerang, and then it makes a drill shield, and then it makes like million drill projectiles. It starts swinging around like Spider-Man, but the webs are drills. It, there's so many
They
drills. The
they
drill
commit
guy.
really hard to the drill thing.
They everything this fucking guy does is a drill. Outside of like a couple of missiles and the boomerang, it's the drill,
Yeah, like
drill.
he can cover the Gurren Lagann's body in drills. He can fire drills like projectiles. He can blow those drills up. He can make a giant drill that's usually used as a finishing move. It's just all
Mega
drills.
drill break, and then it kills you and you blow up. It's like Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really get too crazy up until very late into post time skip when he gets sort of like the first of several, for lack of a better word, evolutions of the Gurren Lagann, starting with when he assimilates a whole fucking battleship to get the Arc Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, the Ark Gurren was a giant battleship created to be a ark that contains all of humanity so that they could survive the planet getting destroyed by the moon. A long story.
Been
But
pretty long.
essentially, in the middle of an epic space battle, Simone was like, "Okay, the Gurren Lagann isn't strong enough to like defeat this enemy. We should fuse with the giant fucking battleship." And then he does that because he's that guy. And then the Arc Gurren Lagann is born, and it has so much spiral energy. It doesn't do that much, but what it does do is charge up its fist with so much spiral energy, it can punch you to the end of time while shattering the space time continuum.
And also assimilate an entire fucking moon base.
Yeah, we'll get there. In terms of combat, that punch, dude, he does that one time and it's the coolest thing ever, then he never does that again. It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
And then after that, it gets even crazier, and he becomes the Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann, and this is where it just starts to go to hell.
The Super Galaxy Daigoren was a battleship created by Lord Genome that was so big it could replace the moon and have the exact same effect on the tides and the planet as the moon because it's just that big. During the epic anti-spiral war, they were trapped in a prison created by the anti-spirals, and once they got out, they managed to absorb all of the spiral energy of every single living spiral being that fought against the anti-spiral and died. All of that energy, all of that those people who fought and died trying to defeat the anti-spiral were now charging up the Gurren Lagann, and it fuses with the Daigoren, the Super Galaxy Daigoren, and holy shit, this thing is busted as hell for no reason.
Yeah, like
Third strongest form, by the way.
just to start off, the most notable thing is that the spiral energy coming out of this thing is so intense that it essentially gives it a passive barrier that, up until Anti-Spiral just turned on the fucking cheat system, nothing could scratch it.
They literally throw several planets at this thing and it does nothing.
Yeah. And then once the Anti-Spiral starts cheating with missiles that are literally probability-wise impossible to block, Simone just says, "Okay, fuck you then," and fires missiles across time!
So the anti-spiral has the anti-spiral's ships have this stupid ability called the random Schrodinger warp, which allows them to travel between separate points in time to avoid attacks. if you try attacking them, you can't hit them because they're not in that point in time. They're in a different moment entirely. So how do you counter something that can travel between several points in time and is never in the same point in time in the same at the same time? You hit every single point that it can travel to at once. Time traveling missiles, baby.
I just want to note
Nice. Good luck dodging that.
I just want to note he does that one time in the show.
The penultimate episode too.
Yeah. And also those probability altering missiles that Anti-Spiral uses. Yeah, Secret has that too.
Yeah. So imagine you're trying to block an attack. So it's like Fire Emblem. The Fire Emblem fans in chat, you have like a chance of an accuracy percentage of how likely you are to hit and land. Imagine if both the accuracy and the crit percentage were always at 100% all the time. That's the missile, baby. It always
Pretty
is gonna
much.
hit, and it's always gonna fuck you up really good. Absolutely ridiculous.
So it's all well and good. And something interesting to bring up as well is that when they were right before they got like Super Galaxy Dagger and all that, uh they were essentially being like crushed underneath a tidal wave of energy that, long story short, grew denser the more spiral energy it was in the presence of. Hence why being swamped with a whole universe worth of spiral energy made it pretty fucking dense. And this does lean a bit into outside help, but considering you kind of need multiple people to even pilot the fucking thing in the first place. Nah. Simone essentially has like other sources of spiral energy to refuel the Gurren Lagann if need be. Like during that specific scene, his little pig mole friend Buddha jumped into his pod and supercharged it with spiral energy.
Accumulated spiral energy for 7 years, nonstop, without ever wasting any of it, and then it exploded all of it at once.
Yeah, and it's worth noting as
Thanks,
well that that
Buddha. Very
spiral
impressive.
energy is also kind of sort of a source of the Gurren Lagann's regeneration. Because in that scene, the Gurren Lagann completely breaks one of its drills that's piloting the Arc Gurren Lagann. And as soon as it gets a supercharge of spiral energy, that bitch is to working.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that after the mechs, but essentially, spiral energy has this unique property that allows all damage to be completely undone and fixed up immediately. The way it works is that as long as you're attached to something that's releasing spiral energy, or you're a source of spiral energy, all damage will be restored until the flow of spiral energy stops. Like say for example, the Gurren gets damaged and loses an arm. The Lagann and Simone unleash spiral energy and use that spiral energy to restore the arm. And as long as they're still fighting, that damage is completely gone. But the moment the battle ends and the flow of spiral energy stops, the regeneration is gone. The
So,
effects are completely undone.
so basically, the Berserker armor on crack.
Yeah. As long as you're still fighting, all damage will be completely irrelevant. But if the moment you stop, then yeah, you're kind of fucked. Try to
So,
avoid fatal blows.
pretty much. So that's all well and good. Then comes the multi-dimensional labyrinth.
The multi It's called multi-dimension or multiversal, depends on the translation, but the English dub goes
Yeah.
with multi-dimensional. The anti-spiral traps the gang in the multiverse labyrinth. Pitt explained it earlier, but essentially what it does is that it's a prison of your own making. A universe is created, and you're trapped in there. But even if you manage to escape, with every thought that you have, a new universe based on a different possibility is born, and it's an infinitely expanding multiverse. Like every time you escape one universe, there's another, and then another, and then another, and then another. It's never ending. It's meant to be this perfect prison where you'll always have a universe where you won't have to fight, and you just stop. Even if you keep trying, you will eventually stop and reach a world where you're like, yeah, I like it here. So Seaman said, fuck that, and absorbed the entire thing into himself.
Yep.
He absorbed the entire multiverse labyrinth. he turned it all into spiral energy. It's like this cool shot where he makes like a drill in the sky, a spiral, and he absorbs everything, forms the Gurren Lagann around himself, and gets out. And with all of that power in store, he and his friends formed the Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Roll
Title
credits.
drop.
Yeah.
Roll
So-
credits.
So, I think what the labyrinth means in this context for the fight. First of all, my manipulation, don't even fucking bother.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna mind hex this little guy. I think he's getting out.
Yes. And as the novelization also goes into, Simon essentially absorbs all of those possible versions of him into one.
Yeah, essentially all of those multiverses are interpretations of Simone, and they're all part of the current Simone right now. This will be very important for in a few minutes, and by this will be
Few.
very important. Few, like in an hour.
So, then we get to, as you mentioned, the Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. So, galaxy chucking.
Dangan Toppa Gurren Lagann is the most blatantly cosmic character in all of fiction. The entire fight is most of the fight against the anti-spiral is the anti-spiral beating the shit out of the Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann and chucking galaxies at it, kicking it so hard that it destroys several galaxies. It is so fucking funny.
Yeah, so
And eventually the anti-spiral, like during the fight, Simone shows that he doesn't only make drills, like he creates rifles for Yoko to use or swords for Viral to use. He can create any weapon he wants to, is what's implied by this battle. It's not just drills. He can create anything. Like for the most part, the Tengen Toppa doesn't do anything that impressive up until a certain Big Bang storm happens.
Yeah, just before we get into that, I want to mention as well that when the Tengen Toppa is formed, they essentially get dragged into this pocket universe that gives their thought physical presence. For instance, Lord Genome, who is literally just a head attached to a supercomputer in the Gurren Lagann, is given a physical form to aid in the fight, which, again, will be important.
It's essentially the spiral energy's regeneration, but on 50 kilotons of crack. The super spiral space where all thoughts become reality. Kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It's a weird. According to an interview, I think if I'm remembering this correctly, the Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann has can just form the super spiral space. It's like a weird thing. It's weird.
So it's basically a cosmic domain expansion.
Gainax, pretty much. The guys at Gainax were probably smoking like 15 tons of crack when they did this. It's really wild. It's stupid. But then Anti-Spiral was like, here's my infinity Big Bang storm, where it grabs two galaxies together, fuses them, and creates a giant Big Bang explosion. It's equivalent to the Big Bang.
Yeah, like, you
It's
visually see
crazy.
it creating actual galaxies, and one of the mechanics on the Gurren Lagann, Liron, just straight up says, this is equivalent to a big fucking bang. Thanks, Liron.
It's literally just a Big Bang hitting them really hard.
Like, there's no flowery... That's... I've said this before in previous conversations. That's one of the things I love about Gurren Lagann. It does not know the meaning of flowery language. Everything is so fucking literal.
See, this
Yeah.
makes it a good contrast matchup to DC Comics.
True.
Infinity
and
Big
then-
Bang Storm. Sorry, Infinity Big Bang Storm. No, that's just an actual fucking Big Bang in every way you can imagine. You can't interpret it as anything else.
The Infinity Big Bang Storm is one of the strongest attacks in the show. So in order to stop it, it required Lord Genome. Remember him from 2 minutes ago? He sacrificed his own body to absorb the entire energy of the Infinity Big Bang and feed it and transform it into a drill so that the Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann could get a power boost from it. That's what happens in the regular show. It's just a power boost, and it lets Simone and the gang power through and kill the anti-spiral. In the movie, though,
Oh boy.
in the movie,
There we
though,
go. So
in the movie, no, you can go.
Yeah, just before we get to the elephant in the room. Something interesting the movie does is that the big contrast is that Anti-Spiral actually starts getting the upper hand on the Tengatoppa and breaks it apart. And then it just sort of all of those individual parts start turning into their own mechs for each member of Daiguren to use.
It's so fucking hype moments in Aura. I love it.
Yeah. By the way, all of those mechs are still the size of a fucking galaxy.
Imagine getting jumped by like 8 separate mechs that are the size of a galaxy. Anti-Spiral is a stronger man than me, dude.
Well, stronger hive mind.
Stronger hive mind. There's at least one man in there.
Rolex.
Yeah.
Probably.
But yeah, when all of these all of these parts of the Tengatoppa then reform together, that's when you get the ultimate of Gurren Lagann forms.
The
Super
blue man that
Tengatoppa Gurren
everyone uses
Lagann,
in every trailer ever.
which is funny considering it has maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
I feel like 5 is pushing it. It's on screen for like 2 minutes. It's so funny. Everyone knows this guy. It's the hype moments in Aura guy. The Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. I think in interview they said that this is Kamina reincarnated as a giant cool mech guy to help the gang, which is really cool. It's really corny, but it's cool because it's Gurren Lagann. And then the Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. It's fucking huge. I have no idea where to even begin calculating how big this thing is supposed to be.
Bigger
Maybe
than the
G1 will have a
observable.
number. I don't
Yeah,
fucking
it's at
know.
least bigger than the observable universe.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing. Like this thing is gargantuan, and then all it does is it makes a drill that is way bigger than it. Like already, I don't know how the size of the mech, and then the drill is like a million times bigger.
Yeah,
It's
just put it into
ridiculous.
perspective. When the Super Tengen Gurren Lagann and the Anti-Spiral do a Giga Drill Break clash, entire galaxies just sort of contort around them in like the same formation as when, if you've ever seen, say, two magnets put together and like dust forming around it in a circular motion, it's like that.
Like it's just ridiculously big. Like I think the mechs. I think we've covered most of the mechs. No, we did. We covered all the mechs. I think something else that is worth pointing out, like just general spiral energy usages. Uh, Force fields that can block energy attacks. It can. It it comes with a mechanism that allows you to teleport to any location as long as there you can think of like the location of any person as long as you can think about them hard enough. As long as you keep someone in your thoughts and you only think about them, you focus all of your brain power into thinking about one person, you can use the Gurren Lagann to teleport to their location at any point,
Yeah,
which
like what
is
he
used
does
multiple
with
times.
Rossio in the show.
Yeah, like that is also just really good teleportation. Like it has the requirement, but it's a good teleportation. Uh, I think that's about it. I'm trying to think of like we
Uh,
mentioned the probability missiles. We mentioned the another thing that I think is worth pointing out is that the anti-spiral was originally a spiral being. So all of its power also comes from spiral energy. And the probability missiles were something that the anti-spiral used that eventually Simone and the gang were like, okay, we can do that too. Fuck you. So I think it stands that you can argue that Simone could use any of the abilities that the anti-spiral has been shown to use. So I do think it's possible to argue like Simone could use the random Schrodinger warp and warp through time to avoid any attack. I'm trying to remember more usages of like the anti-spiral doing it because like anti-spiral is kind of bullshit.
I think what's interesting as well is that surprisingly Simone by himself is not as defenseless as you think because first of all, the core drill that powers the Logon itself, that thing has a surprising punch to it. When he drove that thing right into Lord Genome's chest and it made him fucking explode.
Yeah.
And
It's
more
important to note that the spiral energy comes from Simone himself. So he can
yeah.
channel that into anything, including the core drill or in the final fight of the movie, his own blood. He can make a drill out of his blood, and it's cool as hell. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, 'cause spoiler alert. He just takes the fight straight to the anti-spiral and just starts boxing him for real.
Yeah, all of the mechs break because the anti-spiral is actually that guy, strong as hell. So all the mechs start shattering, but Simon keeps fighting, and eventually there's no mech left to keep going. So the Lagann grabs Simon, throws him at the anti-spiral, and they start boxing it out. They start punching each other really hard. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I think that's everything for Simone then. At least
That
in
is
notes.
everything, unless I need to mention this. I need to put this in the video. In a spin-off gag manga, the anti-spiral can use existence erasure, and it erases the concept of boobs.
Good
Good
enough.
luck, Kyle Reiner. This is a very powerful hex.
Good enough. Welcome back, Soul Eater.
Winner is
Good
an
en-
anime fan. This is a very, very detrimental.
uh, so yeah, I think most of the other stuff
Yeah.
though, like, would be worth covering. We can probably cover in the Feats section. Specifically, one thing that
Yeah.
we'll get back to in
I
a
think
bit.
I
Wink,
think
wink.
I got like it's like Simon doesn't have that much going on. It's just that what he's just really good at what he does, and that's
Yeah.
making drills.
We'll let it drill, baby. So,
And then we have this stupid fucking ring.
Kyle
Yeah.
motherfucking Rainer.
So the Power Ring can do a lot of cool things, but
The power ring.
Kyle himself can also do some pretty cool things. He's a pretty decent hand-to-head combatant, which wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, you know the drill.
You know the what?
But what's most important about Kyle Rayner is his creativity. Essentially, lantern constructs become more powerful the more refined they are. The more understanding you have of the object you're creating with the ring, the more powerful it's going to be.
So just as an example, say you make a construct of a gun, it'd be more effective if you understood everything from like the barrel, the hilt, the whatever the fuck you used to actually load the thing, the gunpowder, the chamber, all of that, as opposed to if you just made a shell that looked like it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go into more detail about the constructs in a bit, but one of my favorite examples of that is when I think it's Hal who's talking about all the the way the Green Lanterns use their rings, and it cuts to Kyle, and you see him using a paintbrush to create shields because that would be more powerful than just creating a shield. He's using something that he has experience with, and thus it's more powerful. You get the gist. So
Yeah, pretty much.
outside of just constructs, which is obviously the main crux, the ring can do some pretty cool stuff. It is tied to his genetic code, so only he can use it. He can summon it to his hand from anywhere. It'll just fly to him. It can scan just about anything, including on a planet-wide scale, and give him full information on everything that's going on. And if it's destroyed, he can just recreate it. Pretty cool. So the constructs.
Here we go.
It's fair to say that he can make anything, right? Like limitations of the rings have never been stated. And
As
with
far
Kyle's creativity to the point where in the future he's considered one of the greatest and most creative minds of all time.
just to put into perspective, kind of scale that lanterns work with, John Stewart. Bearing in mind that we just said that Kyle is one of the strongest lanterns ever, John Stewart just recreated an entire solar system with just his ring.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier how Hal was able to use his ring to recreate a whole city, including the people in it. Obviously, they weren't actually alive, but still, that's a lot. So it's not just for show. They are actually creating every minute detail to these things. He can make all sorts of weapons. Like he makes swords, he makes guns, he makes spikes, he makes big grabby fists, he makes shields to protect himself. He once made a slingshot that one-shot Solaris. You know, the living star. He used
That's
to
Yeah.
obliterate that
crazy.
thing. He can
Just like,
make nerd shit. Like he obviously he made the Lagann, One of them. I don't remember which one.
It was
It's the
Gurren,
Gurren.
yeah.
He also regularly makes Avas, other giant prop. He made a Voltron lion one time. He makes giant dragons. He has more than once made an alien facehugger to attack people with. There's one time he just made Godzilla. Just Godzilla.
As you
Based.
do.
Kind of great. He can also do some wackier things, like if he wants to keep foes contained, he can make a giant maze around them or a giant pinball set. He can put zippers on your mouth to stop you from talking. He can make clones of himself. He can make perfect decoys to look like other people, because apparently he can change the color of its constructs. He can make the Green Machine, his own personal space vehicle, which is a car
What a guy.
that drives across the universe.
The Green Machine is iconic. It better be on the Ben Singer. It better be on the fight. I'm
There's
talking
so
to
many
you, Gurren.
weird things he can also do. It's not just hard constructs. For instance, he can also make like softer things like towels that actually work. He can create wind apparently because he can make tornadoes. He can make oxygen somehow.
As you do.
This one time
As
they
you
went
do.
to Atlantis and he just made oxygen for himself. He can create liquids to put out fires, or he can just put a bubble around your head to drown you. What the fuck, Kyle?
Why did he
Satan
do that?
twisted.
It made working bug spray. And then it made working anti-apocalyptian spray.
It's
As
not
you
even
do.
work.
It can make holograms. It can make complex machinery like things that to enhance Superman's heat vision. It once made a machine that turned the Flash's kinetic energy into vibration energy that just caused angels to be erased from existence. He made a whole ass planet once to erase Pluto. To replace Pluto, rather.
Oh my god. I love this
So
Super
yeah,
Ring.
the constructs are wacky. Anything you can imagine, he can make it. I feel like that gave a pretty good range.
We haven't even gotten to the other things the ring can do that aren't just making constructs.
That's right. It can obviously shoot energy blasts, including ones capable of busting moons and splitting atoms apart. It can also release it into a giant AoE explosion that killed a shitload of Black Lanterns. Contrarily, it can also absorb energy. It once absorbed star-busting level of powers. And in the Green Lantern Silver Surfer crossover, which, yes, I checked, it's canon to Kyle, he absorbed all the powers of Parallax and Thanos. So, neat.
Thanks, Thanos.
Thanks.
It can heal his wounds. He can teleport him. He can make portals. He can turn invisible. He can warp reality with it. He once made an instance of Planck length the same length as a centimeter. I don't know what that means.
I don't even. I've been looking at this. I've seen that page so many times this wait period, and I still don't get what's going on here. I don't understand.
Other Green
For
Lanterns have
context?
showcased the ability to phase through objects or duplicate themselves or erase memories or drain entire power sets for Trials of Time.
Nobody say the line. Don't
I'm
even think
holding
it.
back so badly.
And most importantly, it runs on pure, unadulterated willpower. And Kyle's
Wink, wink,
willpower
nudge, nudge.
is really high. He was able to push out Parallax's influence over him with his willpower alone. It allowed him to view hyperdimensional data, which normally would fucking kill your brain, I imagine. He was able to will the anti-life equation out of his head. The anti-life can control the source and the Black Racer, who is death.
Yeah, you know that
I don't
Darkseid
know
guy?
how he did that.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that Darkseid deals with. Kylo just said, no.
So the
Nah.
Green Lantern ring has a lot going on.
And
The White
that's-
Lantern ring can do all of that and more.
Yep, the White Lantern is on a other level.
There's so many lights. I've been reading so much Green Lantern. I've memorized powers now. I'm losing my mind.
What the White Lantern ring grants to Kyle is full control over the emotional spectrum. This is something that the Guardians of the Universe believed was completely impossible, but he just did it because he's him, I guess.
He's the goat.
Yeah, so what
He's
that
able to use.
essentially yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
go
say, so
on.
what that essentially means is that Kyle just can do anything any of the normal lanterns can do.
Precisely. He can use any shade of the emotions at any time. He can swap them out on the fly. He can use several at the same time, and he can channel all of their unique abilities. He has specifically stated that he has all of their unique abilities. This will be important. So, in order, the Red Lantern, Rage, popularized by Atrocitus, he's pretty cool, have the
Yeah,
He's
ability
awesome.
to inflict rage on others. He can do this to force people into frenzies where they just attack the closest person next to them, including their allies. He can also barf out napalm blood, which can melt dimensions. Atrocitus once used his on Krona. He'll be important later. And he made that guy scream in agony.
that sounds like it'd be a hell of a mess to clean up at the bar.
I don't think you can clean up.
I think it's impossible.
I think the
The
box would just
Orange
melt.
Lantern Ring of The Orange Lantern Ring of Avarice, popularized by Larfleeze, is also pretty cool. Has the ability to create basically the Orange Lanterns are just atrocities and living constructs that he can create.
You mean Larfleeze? Editor, fix that.
Whoops. Yeah, so Kyle can do that too. He's only shown it by creating like a copy of himself that's really strong. But Larfleeze, I cannot say his name right. Wow. Larfleeze also sealed the emotional entity of avarice into his ring
If I
somehow.
may, if I may interject with like an addition, specifically, I think the constructs of the orange light specifically are the orange ring specifically steals your soul to make the it what it Larfleeze kills you and he robs your soul, everything that makes you who you are, and he can add that to the ring and make a construct out of you. Kyle Rayner has never done this, and I don't think he ever will because he's too
Yeah,
much of a good guy. But like, if he wanted
yeah,
to, you know,
yeah. So
we'll see.
Lord has shown sealing before.
Yeah,
Can Kyle seal people in his ring? I don't know,
probably.
maybe.
They'd be surprised if.
Yellow, popularized by Sinestro. He's also cool. I used to really like the Lantern Corps.
Yeah, they're
Move.
so
What
cool.
the yellow ring can do is force fear on you. Even if Kyle doesn't know what you're afraid of, the ring will automatically bring your greatest fears to life. It can create constructs of your fear or just visions of it. And it's not like it gives you a minor spook or anything. No, people have he's used this on have genuinely like broken down from this. So pretty potent.
Just a bit.
The blue lantern light, popularized by Sage Walker King,
So,
I love
has the
Saint Walker.
ability to. It's mainly like a defensive one. It allows you to heal others. Uh, but interestingly enough, it also boosts the ability of Green Lanterns. And yes,
hmm.
Kyle can use that on himself.
Yeah, so the interesting thing with Blue Lantern rings is that on their own, they're pretty pathetic compared to most other lantern rings and generally require a Green Lantern on standby to make the most of them. But, Kyle just is an everything lantern, so that's kind of irrelevant
Yeah,
for him.
Yeah,
pretty much.
it's a weird, if I may use the word spiral, because the blue one powers the green one, and then the green one can power the blue one, and he can just kind of do that. He is weird.
Yeah.
The indigo lanterns are strange. They can, of course, channel the ability of the other emotional spectrums, but Kyle, yeah, they can instantly teleport, but they can also alter emotions. Kyle has used this to stop a war where he forced everyone to rethink what they were doing on a whole planet.
Yeah, it's like how Red can inflict rage on others. Indigo can inflict compassion on others.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
drawback is that Kyle is also forced to feel whatever the people he's affecting with this ability are feeling
yeah.
because
Spoiler
It's gonna
alert.
compassion
be
is
brutal.
Mind hacks is a very common trend among the Lantern Corps.
Pitt's
well,
gonna
it's
love
less
putting
mind
all of
manipulation
these.
and more emotional. It's a different
Pitt,
kind of
Pitt's gonna
You know
love
what I mean.
putting all of these pages
yeah.
on screen. It's gonna be great. And finally, we have the Sapphires because they get their own name. They can heal completely fatal wounds, but not after the person's already died. And they also are capable of creating crystals and inflicting love. Delightful. He has been able
The
to
power of
make
love.
people in the middle of killing someone just be nice to them. It's great.
The power of love wins always.
Yes, we haven't talked about the White Lantern ring at all yet.
Yeah.
those are
Well,
those are
technically
all
we
the
have
abilities
also.
that he can just use the shades of. What the White Ring does is control life. He can create life just by walking. He made life once when when he didn't have control. He can view the memories of dead people. He can, if he dies, he can bring himself back to life, assuming it hasn't gone on. He hasn't been dead for like a while. He can like force himself back to life. He can sense life everywhere and nowhere. It's weird. Direct quotes, including the "it's weird" part. Using a White Lantern ring, Vandal Savage erased Batman from history. So I guess Kyle can do that.
I've read that comic. It's like there's a lot of weird shit going on. It's
You
very
don't
stupid.
say.
And
Arguably not even a
Kyle,
White Lantern ring. It just happens to be white because the writers are
weird.
stupid.
That's very weird. It
Yeah.
happened.
It happened.
Not
It's a
something Kyle would do
possibility.
anyways. It's not something he
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah.
And even if he tries to get rid of the ring, like throwing it away, it'll zoom right back to his finger. So subconsciously, it just comes back to me. He doesn't need to call it. Most impressively, with the power of the entire emotional spectrum, all of the entities of it, Parallax, Ion, all of those funny little guys, try to control his mind, and he just fought them off mentally because he's him.
He's just that guy.
Now you may notice that there is one more thing, ability-wise, I haven't talked about: the life equation, which
Yep.
we will come back to. I'm gonna put a pin in that for now. We'll talk about that after the cosmology segment, because fucking Christ Almighty.
Yeah, that'll be relevant when we actually talk about their stats and stuff, which we'll
Speaking
do.
of,
Yeah, we'll do right now, starting with just the stuff that we can actually attach a number just of any kind to. So, Simone is just very simple in this regard because, yet again, another case where most of the stuff that's actually relevant to this discussion happens with like his later forms in the end of the series because, oh cool, he survived the beam with the Gurren Lagann that could nuke us the side of a cliff, I guess. Whoop de fucking do.
that's gonna make him beat Kyle Rayner.
True. That's
So
gonna
yeah,
be the wink on.
yeah, like
I
art.
think because like the biggest feat that it's actually calculable in Gurren Lagann, calculable in quotation marks, is the Infinity Big Bang Storm we mentioned earlier, because that is just blatant, at least universal levels of power.
Yeah,
And the Tengen Toppa just tanked that for a while and absorbed the entire energy into himself. Like there's
yeah, and
stuff like the super galaxy being able to like generate enough energy to give birth to a galaxy, stuff like that. But it's the Infinity Big Bang Storm in terms of calculable feats. That's the big one. That's like the big feat
yeah,
that happened.
yeah. Speed-wise is very straightforward as well because I mean you just have uh you have the Tengatoppa and the Antispiral literally firing lasers that cross the entire fucking galaxy in less than a second. So, probably pretty fucking fast.
Like just the speed of moving like your arm at that size.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen an actual number for Gurren Lagann numbers because like what's the point? Just look at the size of this damn thing.
I mean, hell, even just the Big Bang Storm as well. The the Tengen Toppa literally put up his arms and blocked the big fucking bang. Do you have any
It's
idea
a,
how fast that thing is?
speed is something that very few people actually bother looking into for Gurren Lagann because like why do you even bother trying to measure this? Like, are you gonna try and measure the super Tengen Toppa Gurren? Like, you're insane, dude. You're not gonna. That's not gonna be worth your time.
So yeah, how strong is the Gurren Lagann just by itself? Very. Like
The
just
Gurren
with
Lagann, before getting to the weird shit, universal, maybe
yeah.
multiversal with the labyrinth. That's a fair argument. Like the big blatant direct feat is universal.
Yeah, and speed wise, probably like quad, quincy, light speed.
I imagine
Something.
something on that degree.
Yeah, so pretty simple. We cleared that in like 5 minutes. And then along came Kyle.
Kyle
So,
Rayner.
I'm just gonna jump directly to Universal stuff because what the fuck?
Yeah.
Kyle Rayner held back the Big Bang.
Doesn't that
There
sound
you go.
familiar?
Kyle Rayner one-shot Wonder Woman, and Wally West was scared that he would kill him, kill her. Yes, in Wally West was scared that Kyle would kill Wonder Woman. There, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Hmm.
Kyle Rayner has taken hits from Superman. He got his absolute shit beat by Zod once. He survived. You know how strong that guy is? He's a Kryptonian. Kyle Rayner
Yeah.
created a construct that shot a bullet through the Anti-Monitor's head. The Anti-Monitor caused the crisis on Infinite Earths. Yes, he was weakened at the time, but still. Kyle Rayner beat up a Meso 2000, who had the combined power of the Justice League, the Teen Titans, the Shazam family, and the Flash family.
I think as well, if I remember right, scaling to Hal Jordan as well, he literally broke into, or at the very least came close to breaking into the Speed Force with one of his constructs.
Oh yes. And in fact, we don't even need to go there. Kyle Rayner has kept up with Wally West.
Yeah, and
You know Wally West.
yeah, the guy who ran to the edge of the universe in a Planck instant.
In fact, let's talk scaling. Let's just get into that shit. Superman has done a lot. In a fight with Jackson, he restored an infinite number of timelines. He famously one-shot the World Forger after sun dipping and obliterated his entire multiverse, cracking the sixth dimension. How lovely. Dr. Manhattan looked into the future and said, "Oh shit, Superman's going to kill me." Kyle should also be comparable to the likes of fucking pick your favorites. Dr. Fate, he survived getting thrown through an infinite number of dimensions. Wonder Woman, oh, she threw her lasso into the Speed Force. Doomsday, he punched through the Phantom Zone.
This is the multiversal prison.
He punched through the Phantom Zone. You don't do that.
So, I think what we're getting at is like, if you just ignored scaling and went directly for their actual direct feats, there's some comparable stuff, namely with like physical stuff. The moment you bring in scaling, it gets fucking ridiculous.
Most horrifying of all. Kyle should be comparable to Larfleeze, who stole Barry Allen's wallet before he could notice.
Holy
Incredible
fuck.
feat. Unmatched speed. Immeasurable plus plus.
Quote unquote measurable stats. Yeah, there you go. That's some level of multiversal and immeasurable.
And this is the normal part of the feat segment.
So, I think that's a good segue into the big deciding factor of this. Well, deciding factor in both parts, but
It
we'll
used to be.
tread that water in a bit.
It used to be.
So, cosmology.
God.
Okay, so
All right.
Simone is very straightforward, so let's start with him.
All right. I have a very important confession. I can hear the people typing in the comments complaining that I haven't brought this up during the anti-spiral fight. The battle against the anti-spiral took place in an imaginary space created by the anti-spiral. That imaginary space existed in between the 10th dimension and the 11th dimension.
You guys remember in the Bowser vs. Eggman video where we said
You guys will hear more about this in the upcoming episode of Death Battle, Kyle Rayner versus Simone the Digger.
this is what we were
Play the clip.
foreshadowing?
Play the clip.
Play the clip.
This is some Oda
So
level
I
foreshadowing.
am no mathematician. I'm not very good at physics, but from my understanding, in the context of versus and power scaling, imagine something that is two-dimensional, like a character in a sheet of paper. Now imagine yourself, a three-dimensional being. That character from within the piece of paper is nothing to you. It is less than nothing to you. It is a two-dimensional entity that cannot even properly conceive what you are. You are infinitely superior to that being in every way. So imagine a fourth-dimensional entity, someone who exists in 4 dimensions, and is infinitely superior to you to the point where you can't even understand what that being is. Now imagine that 7 more times. And that's Simone the Digger.
Simone punched this thing in the face, by the way.
True. The
It is
Tengen
the
Toppa
Ether
Gurren Lagann exists as a higher dimensional being, just like the anti-spiral. And I think it is absolutely ridiculous. It's impossible to it should be impossible to perceive. If this was not a funny little mech show, it would be completely unreasonable to even try and visualize the battle between the anti-spiral and the Gurren Lagann. It is
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. Like there's no way, there's no better way of putting it. Dimensional tiering is a subject. It's a topic in which the higher the number, the more infinities you are superior to something that exists. And that's
Yeah.
11 for Simone.
And theoretically speaking, by the very nature of spiral energy, Simone could probably just, if he willed it so, go higher than that. But we haven't actually
Yeah.
seen him do that in the show, but we'll touch on that a bit.
Yeah. It's important to understand that the jump, like, obviously he absorbed the multiversal labyrinth to do this, but it's important to note that it went from the Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann, which was like galaxy level, to 11 dimensions. I feel like that's such a ridiculous jump in power, and the spiral energy would allow him to continue growing more and more and more, infinitely more like a spiral.
Especially
But that is
considering the
where
fact
we
that,
stand right
yeah, especially considering like the Tengen Toppa file accounts isn't even the strongest form because Super Tengen Toppa.
So yeah, 11 dimensions. I feel like before we move on, I would much prefer to keep things simple and clean. Dimensional tiering is already something that is very annoying to try and properly convey as someone who is
Yeah.
not a professional versus debater, as someone who touches grass on his free time. But unfortunately, that's not where the story ends. So recently, if you like Death Battle, if you're an active member of the Death Battle community, you've probably heard of this Gurren Lagann Cosmology blog that was released a few months ago. It has been discovered that several audio dramas that were sold alongside copies of the movie in Japan exist and have been properly recorded and translated and contain an entire story that interviews have confirmed takes part in the Gurren Lagann multiverse and is a canonical part of this universe, the franchise. In these audio dramas, which are absolutely bonkers and ridiculous, it's a AU where Simone and the gang are high schoolers and they fight against the Lord Genome, who's like a billionaire or something. And eventually, Simone retires from fighting. He throws away his core drill and becomes a writer instead. However, his spiral energy never stopped flowing. And as he grabbed his pen and wrote down fun little mangas for little kids to read, the spiral energy flowed and created lower fictional universes that were entirely completely fictional from his perspective, but could use the power of the spiral to leave fiction and reach his reality. In addition, the big bad of the audio dramas, the version of Simon from within the manga, decided that he is going to completely destroy the disc in which the audio drama takes place in.
What does he do?
I hate talking about this because I am not mentally prepared to explain why this makes Simone the Digger possibly outerversal. This is not something I am ready to talk about in a YouTube video.
Okay, before we get into that, can we just bring up one of the funny things that also comes from this drama CD? 20
Yeah,
D
Lord
Lord
Genome
Genome?
is in the audio drama, and he says something really funny about mixing two powers together to reach the 20th dimension. Now, translations are a bit funky. The translation used for 20 could also be used to say he's reaching a twofold dimensions, which I have no idea what he means by that. But it is believed by at least some people within the Versus community, that this translates as 20 dimensions, and that Lord Genome is tapping into enough power to destroy the 20th dimension. I'm not sure if this translation is correct. I do not speak the language. It is something that is argued, and I have no way of telling if it's valid or not. So let's consider that a possible high end for dimensional tier.
Yeah, I mean, there is also the possibility that he could just be hyping himself up, but as you'll see in a minute, that doesn't really mean a lot.
Yeah, it's very weird. The audio drama is very strange. I am not very qualified to talk about reality over fiction, but I don't think any of us in this prediction video is. And
Well,
I'm the only.
I
And
think
ahead.
I've touched
Finish your
enough
joke.
grass to be incapable of properly talking about this.
True. So yeah, essentially in the audio drama, there are arguments that since Simon could create there was a fictional universe that was completely fictional, and there was a higher reality. The argument of reality over fiction is essentially that if a character exists if part of a cosmology is fictional, and the other part is considered to be real in a way that nothing within the fiction can ever reach reality outside of a specific power source from reality can reach it. So like it's not something like, oh, you can just add some dimensions and eventually you'll reach this higher plane. It's a higher plane that is completely inaccessible through dimensional theoretically. So what people argue is that since the Simon from within the manga could use spiral energy to reach reality, which should be completely inaccessible otherwise, that means that spiral energy possesses properties of an outerversal energy source, which means that everything power, like the max power of spiral energy, is considered outerversal, which is like the highest tier of power if you're a casual that somehow stumbled into this niche power scaling community.
If this is one of your first exposures to the main Versus community, then I am so sorry.
I have no idea how you got here, and I apologize.
How have you been watching for
yeah.
this long?
How did you get this far, dude?
You must
So yeah, I am not very good at
Kyle.
explaining this. I am not. Another thing that exists in the audio drama is that instead of direct spiral energy, if I'm reading the transcripts right, they never express it. Actually call it spiral energy. They call it something else for the real world, and they also mention that even within the context of the story, the audio drama is only sound. It's a dimension where only sound exists, and you can fully alter reality through your words by being loud enough and convincing enough. You can convince reality that whatever you're doing is real and true. So, like we were talking about Lord Genome, he has this big speech about how his power will reach the 20th dimension, And because this is a dimension made of sound, and he's very convincing in his words, that becomes reality. That level of power becomes real, and he's capable of using an equivalent to the Infinity Big Bang Storm. So what do I think as someone who is repping Simon the Digger? What do I think about all this stupid audio drama nonsense? Right? I think the 20 dimensions thing is a decent enough high end, and outer versal, the outer versal arguments, while I understand them, I'm not fully convinced on them being used by something like Death Battle. I It's difficult to understand. Like even if it's in the episode, I think it would only be in a black box because how are you going to stop everything to talk about this?
Yeah, just to pitch in real quick, there's something
Yeah.
that Death Battle often does with like any super duper strong character. Like just as an example, Phoenix versus Raven. They sort of dance around it and only refer to it as to say they destroyed the Omniverse or the greater Marvel or DC multiverse instead of having to specifically name
Yeah,
dimensional tiers because that's just kind of a lot easier for just anyone to understand than whatever the fuck being 11 dimensional means.
exactly. But with Simon, you kind of can't avoid it because like they directly name drop dimensions in the show, and like there's not much to use otherwise.
Yeah, which fun fact in the show when Lord Janelle was explaining that the anti-spiral exists between the 10th and 11th dimensions, everyone in that room is bored out of their fucking minds.
Yeah. As a note, the reason why I believe the audio dramas are usable are because there was a a manga adaptation of the first arc of the audio dramas. I assume it didn't sell very well because it's not the entire content. But in the final page, it's shown that the universe the audio drama story takes place in is actually part of the multiverse labyrinth. They use the exact same. I'll send Pitt the image so you can put it on screen. But it's the exact same visual used to showcase other universes while within the multiverse labyrinth. And the narration says this is a story of the multiverse. And so I believe that due to Simone absorbing the multiverse labyrinth, any feat from the audio dramas is completely fair game. It's just a matter of interpretation because, like, I'm still on the fence if I
Yeah.
think it's actually out reversal or not. Is the thing. Like, I'm not sure if this is actually viable. You know, very, very bizarre little story. So where do I stand in Simon? I think 11D is completely fine. I think 20 dimensional is a little translation reliant, but I think it's fine if the translation checks out. Obviously, I can't be the one to make that check, but I think it's probably fine. And then there's outer versal, which it's like a super high end that I still feel uncomfortable using.
Hmm.
I hate power scaling, guys.
Did you guys
Loka
like
probably more than
the simple part of
this
the?
was the easy part.
Yeah,
I
but
hate
just
power
to
scaling.
pitch in real quick, 11th dimensional Gurren Lagann is probably one of the most blatant cases of dimensional tiering in just any series I've ever seen because, yeah, that's literally just how they describe it in series. No flowery language, no none. It's just the anti-spiral exists between the 10th and 11th dimensions. So, yes, this is the calm right before the storm that is DC Cosmology.
I already had
Store.
I had such a hard time trying to explain this reality fiction nonsense, and now Loka has to explain DC Comics. Good luck, buddy.
So
Get the
earlier,
champagne ready.
I stated that whatever characters are universal. It's not that simple. If you have seen highly praised Death Battle episode Goku vs Superman, Dragon Ball vs DC Comics released in 2023, you know that they gave a little more precise number on that. 1.6 vigintillion times universal. That is 63 zeros. However, it's almost definitely infinite in size. Like it's an infinite universe.
Yeah.
There are so many statements. Statement one here, one this one, and this one, and this one. Whatever. We all know that. The multiverse used to have 52 of these universes. However, it has, new 52. Well, it has since been stated that there are now an infinite amount. So an infinite amount of these infinite universes form one multiverse in an infinite web of infinite multiverses. Are you with me?
Nope.
I made some cute little edits to DC's Cosmology. You know the image. Everyone knows the image. I'm hoping it visualizes this as I do. They are here, surrounded by the Speed Force wall. The thing connecting these universes, and I'm going on this tangent for a reason. The membrane between these universes is the bleed. The bleed exists outside of space-time, rotating around the fifth dimensional axis. So everything within the Speed Force, and thus the multiverse, is fifth dimensional. Are you with me? Good. Alongside that, there are various statements of higher dimensions. 6 dimensions, 8 dimensions, 10 dimensions, 12 and a third. What? 14 dimensions, 19 dimensions. You get it.
It's a lot of dimensions.
Writers
There's
are so
also
consistent, guys.
the Spectraverse, which is its whole other can of worms. That's essentially the different quote unquote levels of reality that Wally West traveled through one time. All of these levels of reality are different vibrational frequencies and directly stated to be higher planes of reality, and there's 26 of them. So there you go, 26 dimensions. This is where Green Lantern Kyle scales.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern Kyle has fought the Guardians of the Universe alongside other Green Lanterns when they were controlled by the entities of the emotional spectrums, and they are able to eradicate this level of cosmic scope. Kyle has also fought against Gravern and Calibac, the Sons of Darkseid, who are capable of twisting reality on this scale. So, that's fine. That's fine and all. That's fine and dandy. Outside of this is the Spear of Gods. It is beyond all material. It is outside of reality and made out of possibility. It is the source of all energy in the multiverse. The denizens of this Sphere of Gods are self-aware concepts, the dark side, made out of platonic ideals existing in an archetypal world. That's right, you heard it right. Platonical ideals.
He's back.
Remember when we talked to this about Bowser and Plato? Now I have to talk about it and say that I actually think it's legit.
Unfortunate.
Got the champagne, boys!
I'll keep it simple for now, though. Outside of the Spear of Gods is the Monitor Sphere. It is and I quote, godlike dimension that envelops all of creation and exists in every corner of existence. Outside of that, and mind you, these are all on top of each other. If everything inside of the Speed Force is 6 to 26 dimensions, these are all infinite layers of that above each other. This is where the source wall is. It spans all dimensions, all of existence, all of creation, everything. It comprises infinite amounts of multiverses. The gallery of moments within the source wall views everything beneath it as fiction. And outside of that is the source.
And there it is.
The source is the beyond. It is the all. It is the beyond all. It's felt across all of creation. It is the canvas the story is written on. It's the paper. That's right. It's the disc.
Doesn't that sound familiar?
Now, why, oh, why have I brought you here? Because this is where the life equation comes into the picture.
Remember that? I hope you did.
It's back.
The life equation
We
is
can
the
finally put the pin off
obviously
of that.
it's obviously the positive of the anti-life equation, which has shown the ability to destroy the entire source wall. More majorly, though, Darkseid has stated that the anti-life can manipulate the source itself. To give more credibility to that, the source is the opposite of Dark Multiverse Necron, who wielded the anti-life. So there you go, anti-life, the source, anti-life, life equation. They're all the opposites. It's obvious, right?
It's
So,
obvious.
so
I'm
what
totally
is the
following.
anti-life equation? The anti-life equation is like it has been quoted as the instructions for how the universe was constructed. The Guardians of the Universe has stated that if you alter the equation, then you alter reality. At his most powerful, the life equation rather was stored inside of Kyle's ring, and he has been directly said to be capable of anything with it. It has shown the ability to warp reality on a universal scale. This is something that Highfather was also going to do as a part of his rewriting of the multiverse.
Put it another way, if if DC was a video game, the life equation essentially lets Kyle rewrite the code.
Yes,
Pretty much.
it is on that level of complete cosmic dimensional stacking that Kyle has the ability to completely rewrite reality into anything he wants. He can use it to, I don't know, kill you, wipe you from existence, replace you with someone else. He brought his girlfriend back to life for a while. That was a bad idea. He's used it to summon parts of the source wall itself. And remember how he split the life equation apart into 7 different parts? Yeah, no, he also said that he can just bring it back together if he wants to. So yes, it's standard.
Yeah, if it's truly necessary, if it's something that he really needs, he can put it back together.
Yeah.
Like killing Simone the Digger.
Like killing Simon the Digger. Now, this is outerversal. I don't want to talk. I don't like saying that it is. But if you're going to quantify outerversal as Chris's whole spiel on reality to fiction, whatever, then yes, altering that level of reality, the quote unquote source code of the game, that's outerversal. Note,
Yeah.
Kyle only gets that high with the life equation.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
It's not like he blasts you with his life equation beam or whatever. It's specifically his.
He can't attack you with it. Well, he can attack
Yeah.
you with it, but not like direct.
It's hacks. It's not like a punch. His
Yeah.
punches are still 26 dimension.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, for reference to that, the 26 dimension thing is very blatant. It's Mr. Terrific who says it,
Yeah.
and that guy knows his stuff.
I feel like if you can trust anyone on this, it's Mr. Terrific from fiction.
Yeah, so 26 dimensions for Green Lantern Kyle. As for White Lantern, who fucking knows? It's
White
somewhere around
Lantern,
there.
I want to
He
talk
doesn't
about
do
this because it
anything.
pisses me off. It
He
pisses me
doesn't
off.
do
I've been
anything.
reading so many comics with White Lantern Kyle. He keeps jobbing and it's pissing me off. He doesn't have that many feats. He's just like vaguely above the Guardians.
Yeah, and the Guardians are vaguely stronger than the 26 dimension thing. Yes. So there you go. That's your
26
metric.
dimensions is green, vaguely higher is white. Outerversal life equation.
So
That went way further. I may have presented that to you in a hopefully somewhat clear and somewhat understandable way. That's not how I felt having to look at it.
Yeah, so
That's not how it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even though all I had to do was gonna go onto a page, shout outs to Banks blogs for being really fucking good, and look at the information. I still had to fucking understand it in order to dumb it down, not just for me, but for you, because I know damn well that you clicking on this video is not gonna do this level of research yourself, are you? You're not gonna read these issues. You're not gonna look into these. You're gonna see if it makes sense. No, I had to do that.
and if you
You're just
still
gonna watch
don't,
the death metal video and complain if your favorite guy doesn't win.
and if you still don't understand any of this, lock your doors. Loke is coming for you.
That
Okay, so
was a mess.
that was a disaster. So
I miss my
This
innocence.
debate is really fun, guys. I promise.
It's a good matchup.
I miss string theory soup.
It's a great matchup.
You don't actually
Brings
mean
me
that.
joy. I'll talk about.
Okay, so I think that covers pretty much everything that we need to bring up for like their individual traits. So I kind of want to go over like what are some just obvious advantages both have and obvious disadvantages both have. So starting with Simone, like I mentioned before, I think the multiversal labyrinth shit just means a lot of stuff that Kyle has that would like manipulate his mind, emotions, whatever, are just that's a no go.
I definitely think that I think Simone's biggest advantages that aren't like super debatable are that he does have some really good resistances because of the multiversal labyrinth. Mental, emotional shit. He can break through because he's awesome. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I also think that while reality warping on Kyle's level means that he can eventually figure out a counter, I think that the probability missiles will at least at first be a huge hurdle to go through because he can't block that shit. He can't dodge it. There's nothing he can do to like lower their
but
effects.
Chris, this is where you pause the video and you slowly zoom in at me. What if he dodges?
And this is the part where I break Loca's skull like a Mortal Kombat fatality. This is the
Yeah.
part where you edit E over the Doomslayer versus Master Chief kill, and I just destroy Loca in every way possible.
Yeah, have fun dodging a missile that can hit you yesterday.
100% accuracy. You can't fucking dodge it.
But what if he dodges?
You can't dodge it.
What
That's
if he
the point
dodges?
of
Though,
the
have you thought about
missile.
that? What if he dodges?
He can't dodge it.
Well,
That's
they
the
say that you
whole
can't dodge.
point of the
They
missile.
say that you can't dodge Darkseid's and Mega Beams, but that's what Batman doing. I'm pretty sure Kyle can do that.
Kyle's not Batman.
Yeah, he's better. He's better, Chris.
He's not Batman. Batman wins.
This is stupid bit.
This is. We needed this. We needed an outlet. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So yeah, but basically the missiles are really good.
You know, he can't dodge the missiles.
He cannot dodge the missile.
He can't dodge the
Yeah.
missiles. He can't block the missiles. He can't.
And I think
Like
as well,
if he stops everything he's doing to focus on the life equation, is like, okay, I'm gonna change this part of the life equation so that I can dodge the missiles. He's gonna get hit by the missile.
yeah, and I think another
It's
thing
not
as well,
instant. He doesn't instantly change things. He needs to like focus on it for a little bit.
yeah, I think as well that just the general spiral energy shielding the Gurren Lagann would also be a boon. Obviously, like, as we'll get into a bit, the power differences, yeah, but I mean that's
Fire defense is. We'll
Uh,
get to it. It's like
Debatable.
the biggest.
Kyle can drain energy and potentially like powers too, since we've seen Hal do that at least, and he should be comparable.
Hmm.
Whether or not he can drain spiral energy at a faster rate than Simone can output it is anyone's guess.
and
I do
don't for-
think both of them having energy absorption capabilities is gonna be important. I have no idea where you would even be to compare like their ability to drain compared to their output. But I have a sneaky suspicion that it's gonna matter in the death battle.
Yeah,
Or
I don't
just
know
a
about
gut
the
feeling.
output. I don't know
Yeah.
about the output difference, but I think that Kyle would probably gain more from spiral energy than Simone would from the white light.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about the
'Cause-
green one though? What about the green?
See,
Willpower.
what if he absorbs
Yeah.
the orange one? That's a nice color.
What if he absorbs the orange one and he steals
think-
Kyle's soul?
I do think essentially having extra batteries of spiral energy in the mech as well is also a boon.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I
at least-
didn't even mention that. Kyle has a power battery.
Yeah,
Yes,
the battery.
it doesn't matter, but he has it.
The
I guess
battery doesn't
kinda.
really matter because imagine fighting the fucking Gurren Lagann universe-sized whatever the fuck, and you're like, actually, I need to charge up really quick.
I guess I gotta recharge my battery.
I
And
need
then
to
he gets bombarded by-
recharge with my battery.
And then he gets bombarded with 50,000 time
I
traveling
like it.
missiles.
Something I want to mention,
Uh,
I was gonna mention it while we were talking about the White Ring. During his fight with Relic, there's a bit where Kyle Rayner's like, I get stronger the more I fight for life. The more I fight to preserve life, the stronger I get. And as he's saying that, the charge of his ring is increasing automatically. So that's important. That's probably going to be
Right.
very important.
He can probably just
Yeah.
passively charge it up because,
Yeah.
as he
know
said,
why-
he's connected to all life everywhere. There's a lot of life everywhere. Even if that doesn't work, he has the blue bullshit that can charge the green bullshit that can charge the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
They
going to be
both have-
if the fight
they
comes down
both-
to if the fight comes down to who depowers first, the fight's not going to end.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not-
they
it's-
both have the
it's never
capability
ending.
to out. They can both output infinite amounts of energy that can boost their power.
They're never going to
beyond
stop.
dimensions.
Yeah.
You just cannot stop fight. They're never going to run out of charge
Yeah, it
unless
probably
they
doesn't-
die or something.
It probably doesn't help that, like, even if somehow you got Simone out of the mech or Kyle lost his ring, you're still not out of the woods yet because Simone can still just use that spiral energy to fuck you up, and Kyle can just call another ring to his side.
I mean, Simon can just remake the mech on him.
Yeah, something a lot of people tend to argue that Simon cannot use the mechs by himself. And my argument for that being bullshit is that he can just make the mechs with spiral power and call it a day.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Yeah,
it's,
but like
it's
we
not
see
that
him doing that
complicated,
in the
guys.
multiverse labyrinth.
Yeah, he makes the base Gurren Lagann, but like there is nothing there's nothing saying he can't do the other ones. He
Yeah,
has the
like-
spiral energy in him.
And, like, as we see throughout the show, he can just control the mech via the logon specifically. Like, hell, one of the earlier fights in the show, Kamino just literally takes his hands off the controls and just lets Simone do all the work.
Yeah, Simon doesn't need other pilots to function. He's just that good at piloting mechs.
Yeah. On the contrary, Kyle has tried to throw away his White Lantern ring, and it just sipped right back to it. It can teleport and create portals across dimensions. They're not gonna do that to each other. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of they can just do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, cool reality warping, dude. I can do. Oh, force fields, dude. I can do that too. Cool energy absorption, dude. I can do that too. They just keep matching each other, blow for blow. It's ridiculous.
Theory advantages. You could argue Kyle having a versatility advantage. That's not gonna matter. I don't think his funny facing is gonna do anything.
He has the versatility advantage until Simone is like, spiral power, go, and then he does it.
And it's
That's
like-
just how it works.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, cool, I can phase inside the mech. Why am I in a pocket universe now?
Dude, I want to. I this is not an actual counter to Kyle Rayner. I just want to bring this up because I found this while I was reading comics, and it's so funny. Like, there's this one Justice League comic where there's this giant ship, right? There's this giant spaceship that is so ridiculously big that it can contain several planets within itself. And Kyle and Martian Manhunter goes inside and is like, this thing is really big. I'm gonna send a telepathic vision of the inside to you guys. And Kyle Rayner has a fucking he gets a fucking migraine just from trying to visualize this giant complex spaceship. It's like if he teleports inside of the thing in top of Gurren Lagann, I think he's gonna suffer a little bit. I don't think he's gonna handle it very well. Like he's gonna lock in eventually, but that's gonna be a jump scare and a half.
Yeah.
I feel like that's debatable because Kyle has also resisted the anti-life equation.
That's
I
the
think he'll
annoying-
just tank it eventually, but I think initially he's gonna be like, whoa, Oh,
I
that's
mean, it's gonna be
fucking weird.
a little shock to him, I
Yeah.
suppose.
That's just the annoying thing with comic books in general is
Yeah.
who would have thought when you hand a story off to like 50,000 writers, they're gonna be doing completely conflicting things.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's get the obvious one out of the way. Yes, Kyle has seen Gurren Lagann. No, it doesn't matter.
Does not matter. It does not affect anything in the slightest, dude. Doesn't Death Battle say that like pre-battle information is banned? Like even if he knew it, I think by the rule set they wouldn't apply that to
I mean,
Well,
any.
they did. I think they mentioned in a pop up for Rick versus Doctor
Yeah, they did.
that
Yeah.
Rick has seen Doctor Who, but that doesn't immediately assume that he knows everything,
Yeah.
all the ins and outs. You know.
Yeah, there's no need to assume he know. We know he's seen the show, but has he seen the movie?
Yeah,
I don't think
Has he
he's
listened to the
listened
audio
to
drama?
the audio drama.
Then I
Has he
think
listened to the audio show?
I think there's also a big difference between seeing someone on TV and like actually having a game plan with fighting them. Because like, yeah, I can watch fucking Mike Tyson box someone on TV. That doesn't mean I'm gonna have a game plan if I'm fighting him.
My game plan is to grab a gun.
Yeah, see how far that gets you.
Kyle just shoots old man Simone in the head.
uh,
All right. I think hacks is a very weird conversation because I feel like at the end of the day, it depends on the stats. It's always gonna come down to those fucking stats to me.
yeah.
'Cause, like I'm not
Right, so
sure.
let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
So if we're gonna
Uh,
talk about non-dimensional tearing, Kyle wipes the floor with him.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the multiverse labyrinth, like it being called an infinite multiverse labyrinth, like it's an infinite labyrinth of universes. But I do think Kyle and DC in general is more consistent. So I do think Kyle has this an advantage in non-dimensional
Yeah.
bullshit.
Meanwhile, speed wise, the Flash.
Speed-wise, I feel like neither of them are measurable. Like I feel like even outside of like dimensional scaling as like a source of power, I feel like just being able to move in a higher dimensional plane means that by normal metrics you cannot calculate Simone's speed. You cannot
Fair enough.
calculate how fast he's moving. So I don't think I don't think speed is gonna be relevant in any way. I don't think either of them are measurable.
So
Right.
Like if you try to arbitrarily give them speed numbers, I would probably reckon that the Flash is faster than anything in Gurren Lagann. But like
Yeah.
I don't really think you should. I think they're both measurable.
So let's talk power.
Let's talk about those fucking cosmology
Let's
shit that
talk
was.
about those fucking dimensions that I hate.
I hate
So-
dimensions and I hate outer verso even more.
I think with what we laid out, what we can essentially say is tiering them power wise, bottom is just the general low end for Simon, just 11D. Above
Yeah.
that is wherever the hell you have Kyle, but even if it's just the
Yeah.
12.3D, you're good. Then above that is just whatever the fuck is going on in the audio CDs. But if you throw hacks into the mix, life equation.
Yeah. Like
I
I feel
think-
like let's see, DC is very inconsistent when it comes to spatial dimensions. Because I think from what I understand of it, the Spectroverse thing is the 26 dimensions are usable. It's just a matter of like DC is so inconsistent with how many spatial dimensions there actually are. Like it's like I think when I'm debating it here with my friends, I think it's fine. But like I don't know what Death Battle's gonna do. I don't know if Death Battle's gonna accept all that. It's
Yeah.
weird. But I think 26 dimensions are probably fair game. But like let's assume I think Kyle is always going to have a power advantage with dimensional tiering unless you buy that spiral energy is outer versal because Simone, unlike the life equation, Simone actually applies spiral energy into his physical attacks. Like he actually hits you with the power of the spiral, unlike the life equation. So it would probably apply to like his power output. So but that is the only scenario where Simone is stronger to me. That is the only scenario where Simone has a
Yeah.
higher attack. Otherwise, I
And-
think Kyle just has a sheer overwhelming power advantage.
And a lot of that also kind of depends on like how much
Yeah.
stock you put into spiral energy being able to essentially supercharge Simone to the extent of matching that kind of dimensionality, similar to how he
Yeah.
does it with the anti-spiral.
It's just a very weird conversation. Simone, in terms of power, is always going to be a weird conversation because there's always going to be the argument that, oh, he's just eventually going to get that strong. And like, there's no counter to it. It's just a matter of like, is he able to do it in time? Like,
Yeah, I
Kyle
think
is a lot stronger. Like, if you use 20 dimensions and 26 dimensions, that's like 6 whole infinities that Simone has to get through.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
that also
he has been shown to be able to do that in the anti-spiral fight, but like, I'm not sure if that's super reliable, you know?
yeah, and that also kind of goes into territory of like how much of that is also just a no limits fallacy.
Yeah, how much of that is viable until it becomes cheating, rude,
Yeah.
evil.
Like there's theoretically
yeah.
no limit to spiral energy,
Yeah.
but not the use of the word theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, there's no limits. Like what we see spiral energy do is that spiral energy allowed Simone to grow from galaxy level, 3 dimensions, whatever, to going blow for blow with the anti-spiral, who is 11 dimensions. That is like a 6 or 7 dimensionality increase. Which, if he can pull something like that off in the middle of fighting Kyle Rayner, that would be enough to help him match. That would not be enough. That would be enough to help him match Kyle in power if you buy 20D, which is like a whole can of worms. Assuming that he's 20 dimensional and based on the fact that he jumped to 11 dimensions, he should be able to jump to 26 theoretically because it's a similar increase, right? Like, I feel like the math checks out. It's just a matter of, do you even buy him being 20 dimensional in the first place?
Oh my god, wait, Chris, I completely forgot. We never even mentioned the Gurren Lagann game for the Nintendo DS, where base Gurren Lagann.
Oh my god!
Spiral.
Oh my god, that's so right. You're so right. You're actually so right. This is the most important part of the debate. And the Nintendo DS game for Gurren Lagann that nobody played, there's an alternate ending where Kamina shows up and he joins Simone in the fight against the anti-spiral. And in regular Gurren Lagann, base Gurren Lagann, doesn't even break country level. They team up and they beat the anti-spiral. They're just that good.
So yeah, it turns out the Tengen Top actually severely upscales from that. Bye bye, Kyle.
This
So
is why I
true.
don't like you guys.
Obviously, we're being facetious, but it is fucking hilarious.
It's really funny that you can argue. I think it's funnier if you try using that in a Kamina matchup. Like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Kamina defeated the anti-spiral in the Nintendo DS game.
Like, I know there's the whole infinite universe thing, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, back on
It's just
topic.
a very weird conversation. So basically, I think my personal take as a Simone defender, I think if you argue that Simone is 20-dimensional, I think it's possible for him to grow in power to match Kyle's dimensionality. Outside of like the outer versal arguments, which at that point Simone would just have the power advantage in general, because unless evidence is found for Kyle scaling to life equation tier in terms of attack potency, which I haven't seen yet. We don't know yet. Who knows what Death Battle's gonna find?
I think my takeaway is if you were to go for outer versal Simone, I think that just applying to his general power instead of the life equation hacks is absolutely a huge advantage, because what would be quicker to get out? Essentially rewriting the code of reality or shooting Kyle once. But that is very dependent on how much stock you want to.
It's a very weird discussion to have because it's very dependent on what you buy. Like more than versus as a whole, like even more than versus, Simone's stats right now are very up in the air. Like no one is really sure what should be used for him in terms of power. Yeah, that makes making videos like this really annoying, huh?
Like 11D is absolutely just the bottom line. Like there's no denying that. It's just
like,
yeah.
If we're only using 11 dimensions, he's not matching the dimensionality statements that DC has, and so he gets pretty much AP stomp.
Yeah.
So okay, you've been suspiciously quiet for a while.
I've been thinking.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Rayner's out of vertically win.
Please explain.
No. End the video. Good job, everyone. Okay, what do I, who painstakingly had to do this, subject myself to this, think? Obviously, I have not listened to the Gurren Lagann audio disc. I do not know if I think the 20D is correct. However, I also feel like it's kind of a weird thing when the 11D thing is so integral to the story. It's where the climax takes place. It's stated in the primary source material, and then this side piece of media just says actually 20D. I think that's a little strange.
I think my personal feeling, like outside of the debate, while I was reading the transcript for the audio drama, it's like it's never said in the show that there's only 11 dimensions spatially. But like I think because it's based on like string theory, string theory implies there's only 11. And I think some interviews were like saying that they buy string theory as what the multiverse is supposed to be like. It's so weird. But I think the statement is just so random. And it's specifically the line is Lord Genome mixing two. He's like, with the mix of these two powers, I can make a universe. And then it's either 20, I can destroy the universe, and then it's either I can destroy the universe twofold, or I can destroy the 20th dimension, because it can translate as either the Japanese term used. And I'm like, I'm reading that and I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know. I think the universe twofold, the twofold universe translation makes a little more sense because he's making the Infinity Big Bang Storm. That it's set up for him making the Infinity Big Bang Storm.
Yeah.
And I think it would make more sense for him to be talking about universes in this context. But like I said, I have no way of verifying with like actual people who speak the language fluently what the intent would be in this scenario for the character to be saying. I don't have a way of confirming that. I think 20D is like something that it's like I'm not so sure on. I'm not sure if that's usable. And that's what's really bugging me. It would be so much easier if the statement was normal.
Yeah, see, that's my main thing. That it just feels weird to have that massive increase. Which, especially with the outerversal thing, to have that be absorbed into main Simone, and then he's still on the 11th dimension.
It's so strange to me.
That is
Like,
odd. That just feels weird to me. The 5% spiral afterwards still takes place. The 5% spiral after that, after he supposedly absorbs that outerversal power, still takes place in the 11th dimension.
Yeah. It's
by that logic, he shouldn't be able to exist there.
I think Kyle's arguments are definitely like from a death battle perspective. Like I don't know how the research goes. I don't work for death battle. Like I'd imagine if you had to sit down and try to come up with a full argument for one character winning, I think it's easier to use Kyle's statements. I think they're more safe. I think they're a lot safer to use. You know. Like, I'm supposed to be repping Simone, but I want to be fair because I like both characters.
I will also be fair.
Yeah.
It is also weird to have this one-off statement of 26 vibrational frequency dimensions or whatever for that level of power for Kyle. However, there are just so many.
Yeah.
There's so many 11, 12, 14, 19 statements. DC
dimensionality is weird because what you need to pick a statement to latch onto, and like which one do you choose? All of them are one-offs.
Yeah, but I just think the fact that there are so many statements makes it more credible.
Yeah, it's inconsistent, but it's consistently inconsistent.
Which compared to a one-off statement from an audiobook.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think that is my potentially biased opinion.
That's fair. Like I think it's just I'm trying to use all the arguments. Like if you like outside of debating this matchup, you will never catch me dead even bringing up Outer Verso Simon. I think it's the stupidest thing in the world. I think it's ass. I think it's ridiculous. But I bring it up because it is an argument that people make, and I have no idea if Death Battle is going to use it or not. I have no idea if it's considered viable by most sources. So since this is a prediction video, I do think it's important to at least bring attention to it.
I
Of
think my
course.
personal prediction in regards to that is, I absolutely think that like the audio CD stuff is going to be relegated to a black box because, bro, imagine trying to fucking explain that to just a casual viewer watching this episode.
Like I genuinely, I don't know if it's gonna impact the verdict. I don't know if it's gonna be. If they vocally mention it, I think I'm gonna lose my mind. If they actually talk about this as if it's a normal thing to mention in a Simone analysis, I think I'm gonna lose my shit.
So
And not
here's
necessarily in a good way.
here's my stance as of this instant, right now, subject to change. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
Who do I think wins the debate? Kyle. Who do I think
Yeah.
wins the episode? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think like in a debate, like when you're debating in a vacuum, right? You're just debating Kyle versus Simone. You go on Discord and you're like, who wins Kyle versus Simone? I think most people will say, well, the life equation reality warping is superior to anything in Gurren Lagann. But then there's like Death Battle and their approach to things, and I don't work for them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're gonna go, oh yeah, the life equation is valid, or if they're gonna go, well, actually, the life equation is something that Kyle never truly fully mastered, and he needed to separate it in several parts. Therefore, it's not a reliable win con. So we need to use other arguments to make him win. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
Spawn was weird as hell.
That's kind of my thing as well, is that I don't like just assuming, oh, this comic character has some super OP shit, so obviously they win. Like, as we already mentioned, there's stuff that makes the life equation like not as straightforward a road to a win as possible. Like, if you put them on like the same batting average, then yeah, as I mentioned before, just shooting Kyle once is a lot quicker and easier than essentially reshaping reality as a whole.
If you assume that Outer Verso is valid, which again, I have no idea, dude. You figure it out yourself. I think Simone probably wins. But like again, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a guy on the internet making a stupid video.
I think I do agree that if you were to ask me who I thought won just in general with all the information I was given, then yeah, I do agree. I think Kyle probably has, because no matter what, unless you buy just that whole mess of a CD, it's kind of hard to not see Kyle as being higher dimensional than Simone, and how much stock you want to put into the Gurren Lagann just evolving to that point of dimensionality before Kyle just shoots him once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
There's
a debate.
so much. There's so much going on.
Even more than Bowser versus Eggman, I think this comes down to just pure interpretation.
Yeah.
Like it entirely depends on what the person talking about the matchup believes in and thinks is valid. And I am not Liam Swan.
Personally, I do think Simone just kind of being a lot easier to get across and understand does make me think that he probably has a better chance of actually winning the episode as a whole, because obviously this isn't a general rule. We've had exceptions to it, but a lot of times Death Bell does just go for the Occam's razor approach of just what's easiest to explain for the verdict. Like, that's why they rarely ever bring up dimensionality in a verdict, because that's just complicated as hell to explain.
But see, I don't think that if the research team found that Kyle wins, but it's easier to explain Simone winning, I don't think they would just go, "Oh, Simone wins."
Yeah, I think
I'm
I
not
don't think they
saying
would do
that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just saying, how do I word this?
No, I think I understand what you mean. I think it's a matter of like if it's easier if the research team is debating the matchup, this stupid fucking matchup with so many things that are up to interpretation. I think they might end up just going, okay, we believe after a debate, we believe this is the outcome. Then they will explain it in a way that's like very easy to digest.
Yeah.
And in the episode, I think it's easier to digest Simone winning. But I don't know. It's weird.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
it's weird to remember this is still a prediction video, not just a who would win.
Yeah.
Because if this was just who would win, I think I would definitely just like.
Yeah, I think we all agree after
Yeah.
nearly 2.5 hours of discussing this.
Editor, put an image of Kyle Rayner on screen, and he's being
So-
awesome and says winner on the bottom.
So to recap, our stance is we think Kyle maybe wins, but we have no clue if he will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We side Kyle, but we have no idea if Death Battle's gonna make Kyle win.
Yeah, I think
it's
I
weird.
what I want the takeaway from this to be isn't, oh, these guys said Kyle will win, so he's obviously gonna win the episode, or he obviously wins debate. No, I want this to be like, now that you have this information, who do you guys also think wins? Like, we're throwing our opinion into the mix, but I mean, now that you guys have heard like all of this bullshit and had it explained to you in an easy way, what do all of you guys think the verse is going to be? Because that's kind of more so the point of a prediction video or blog isn't so much just to give a definitive answer to who wins. It's to give you as much information as humanly possible and present what kind of arguments would come out of that.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
sure to tell us in the comments below in a very civilized manner.
Yeah, please give me please give me specifically a 50-page essay on who you think wins Simone the Digger versus Kyle Rayner.
Actually,
Much
don't
appreciated.
care. Put Kyle back on screen. Put the winner text. Put the confetti. Put the stock yay sound effects. We got him, Kyle Rayner, baby. Woo, baby!
White Lantern!
Narrator. We love them both.
Oh, it's good.
We love
I
that.
love
They're great.
Simone. I love Simone
It's
the
great.
Digger.
I
If
just
he wins
hope
the
the episode's
episode, I
good.
think I might something might break.
Maybe the audio
As long
CD.
as the episode's good.
I guess we're done here then.
So, anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up then?
My final message. Simone will use his awesome anti-spiral powers and he's gonna erase the concept of rings and then Kyle Rayner will die.
I think that Kyle is gonna dodge.
Shut the
Chris,
fuck up.
you know, Chris, I realized that would be very fucked up considering the one memento he has to remember Nia by.
True.
I have
Specifically,
one,
wedding rings do not get affected.
but at what cost? Kyle just makes a wedding ring construct.
Out of what? He lost the ring!
Out of its willpower, baby!
Willpower!
Will of the
This
trail!
This is stupid. Oh my god! I
Everything
lost.
is stupid.
You don't know. No, you don't understand. I have 7 papers. I need everyone, please. I have, guys.
You put more
Guys.
effort into this than I have ever put into a college thesis.
Guys, I didn't even do my finals. This is, guys. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell, and maybe I'll survive.
Yeah, so thank you all for watching. Thank you two for being here with me. Lord knows I
Yeah,
would
thanks.
not have even touched this if I didn't have backup.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Well, until next time. Later, guys.